Well, there we have it, guys. The quarterfinals are over. We have our fourth and final team getting into the semi-finals. South Africa taking this one 29 points to 28, beating the host, knocking them out. The current champions go on. What a game. What a game to enjoy. I'm still feeling a little bit under the weather, so if I'm not quite as excitable, don't take that as anything against this game, because it was a phenomenal watch. Enormous carries by the forwards, explosive runs by the backs, loads of tries, just right up to the end of the game, just scoreboards ticking away. I thoroughly enjoyed this one as a neutral, but congratulations to all you South African fans. Commiserations to all you French fans. Man, what a tough old blow this one was. So the game's just finished on my end. We're going to have a run through of some of the key highlights, go over my full-time thoughts, some reactions, some opinions. Of course, as always, drop down in the comment section your thoughts on the game, because it's always fun to get every different person's opinion, right? We all have slightly different opinions. So going on to this first half then, 6 tries. I did not think I was going to be saying 6 tries in one half in this game. More weirdly, all of the tries for France came through the forwards, and all of the tries for South Africa came from the backs, which I think would be the exact opposite, given, when you think of the South African forwards versus, like the Pinot and BLBRE on the wing for France. I thought it'd be the other way around. But an incredible first half to have 6 tries. Cyril Bay getting 2 tries in this game. The first one being hugging out on that wing, some lovely soft hands from Pinot just to offload him in the prop scoring in the corner. Not something you're too used to seeing. Him getting his second one in the 31st minute from the pick and go. The French forwards today just absolutely clinical when it came to that 5-meter channel. Marvaca also got over for his. That was quite a clever try, to be fair. That was off the tap and go. Realised by Dupont it was on. Passed it out. Same wing that Cyril Bay got his first one on, and Marvaca going over in the corner as well. So 3 tries for France. Meanwhile, on the flip side, South Africa getting theirs sort of against the run of play for a couple of. That first half in particular was just everyone's just throwing everything at the game, but the territory, the possession, in fact for the whole game was with France, but that first half especially, it felt like France were the more attacking team. They had the better possession. They were really pushing South Africa back in their half, but that breakdown situation, man, from South Africa today, just awesome. Some people just getting in there, ripping the ball out. Dwayne Vermeulen had an awesome game and just turning over that breakdown, and 2 of their tries came from just turning over the ball. The next phase, getting a kick away, both times actually. The 2 first tries, Kurtley Arendse and Damien Dielende's, both of them came off of no one catching the kick from France, which is astonishing given the back 3 from France. No one catching that kick, allowing it to bounce. Kurtley Arendse picked up his and just ran it all the way. Damien Dielende doing the same thing, did get stopped just before the try line, and yet somehow got back out of the ruck. I'm sure he was tackled in to then get back onside and score his. I don't really know how he did that. I'd have to go back and watch that one, as well as Cheslin Colby getting his. That was probably the best work try for South Africa in that first half. Again, off the back of a turnover though. France will probably be really annoyed with their breakdown today and just how many turnovers South Africa were allowed to get. We talked in the preview video about just how good South Africa are at the dominant tackles and being able to drive you back. It just cuts out all that momentum. You having to take those steps back just means South Africa can rush onto the ball in the ruck quicker. But that one being ripped, getting out to Jesse Creel, and a lovely grubber kick, weighted absolutely perfectly, bouncing up into the hands of Cheslin Colby, outrunning Damien Pinot, which is by no means an easy task. And that one converted over by Marnie Libok. So the kicking today was interesting. The kicking from Libok, missed one in that first half, but kicked some absolute corkers in this one. Ramos, kind of unusual for him, missed his opening 2 kicks. One of them charged down by Cheslin Colby. And I was thinking at that point when that happened, I was like, how important is that charge down going to be? And you look at that scoreline. Charging down a conversion, saving South Africa probably from 2 points. Ramos is such a high percentage kicker. South Africa win by 1 point. How important is that? Just the mentality getting into this game, understanding it's knockout rugby, giving your all. Cheslin Colby, absolutely phenomenal to get that charge down, and might have arguably won that game for South Africa by the end of it. We did have a yellow card in that first half. Evan Etzebeth going off with his yellow card, head-on-head contact with Antonio. And I was kind of happy with the yellow card as it was. We did see in the game earlier, Harbosi getting a yellow card for something very similar with Marcus Smith stepping inside, and it was head-on-head. I think this one was, it's really tricky for Evan Etzebeth. He's about 6'9". I really think he was dipped quite low, but even when he's dipped low, he's still probably the head height for most of the players. Made that head-on-head contact. I don't think it was as bad as the Marcus Smith one, actually, and then sort of went onto his shoulder. So they went off for the yellow card, had the bunker review, but came out as it's just a yellow card, not upgraded to a red card, and I think that is the correct decision with that one. I was kind of happy with how that went. But I think South Africa will be pretty happy. They survived that yellow card. They only conceded the 3 across the entirety of that yellow card, and that was from that penalty directly after that yellow card. But in the second half, they did very, very well to survive. In fact, they were on the charge. They were on the big press. Bit of an interesting call from South Africa going on in this one though. First 10 minutes of that second half basically brought on the whole bench, which really surprised me. I remember saying in the preview video they went for the 5-3, and I thought that was the wrong call because I said I really think South Africa want to back their forwards and back, take it on that scrum, take it on that maul. I thought the 5-3 might be the wrong move. They brought on basically everyone in that opening 10 minutes, and I'm not sure it was necessarily the correct call because a lot of the players that came on immediately started giving away issues. Oxenshea gave away a penalty. Faf de Klerk came on for Cobus Reinach, who was having an awesome game, and Faf de Klerk gave away about 2 penalties in this game, and then he threw that pass right at the end, direct into the player, and the referee just said no and gave that scrum back to France. I feel like some of the substitutions that came off kind of made it a little bit tougher on South Africa, but maybe that longevity of bringing them on in that first 10 minutes and let them sort of warm up into the game so that they would be better by the end of it. Obviously, pays off because they get the win at the end of it. Ramos got his penalty kick in the 54 minutes to take France out to a slightly bigger lead, 6 points in, and there came some big decisions for South Africa in this one. They turned down 2 opportunities to go for the post, which is a really big call considering at that point Andre Pollard has come on. I'm expecting him to kick them. It's a 6-point game. They turned down 2 opportunities, went for one in the corner, and actually lost the line out. And then they did another one off the tap and go, and France managed to survive that onslaught as well. And I thought maybe that was going to come back to bite them, but Eben Etzebeth, after his yellow card, came back on. Maybe some slightly fresher legs on some of the other forwards, getting over his try, charging over Matteo Jalibert to get over for his try, converted by Andre Pollard. And then another penalty in the 69th minute saw South Africa go back out into the lead. Now 4 points in the clear, and he thought maybe this game is going to swing towards South Africa, because at this point it felt like the momentum shifting now. South Africa are beginning to win at the scrums. It feels like that French scrum is creaking. The driving maul looks like it's going South Africa's way. They're on some bigger charges. It looks like France are beginning to panic. They also lost Matteo Jalibert, which was a big blow for them, because it didn't really look like France had a plan for him not going off. I thought maybe, Ramos would slide into 10, but then it's like, well, who's going to cover the fullback position, or who's going to go out on the wing? I did think maybe Damien Penaud or BLBRE would try and slide back into the fullback, and Mofani could have moved over to the wing, or maybe brought on a scrum half and slid Dupont back to 10. Not that he, necessarily the 10 experience, but just, in terms of running a game, he's very used to it. I thought maybe that could have been the right move. Mofana coming on didn't really feel like a direct switch going on for Jalibert in that one. Jalibert also had a bit of an awkward kick just before he went off, kicking a penalty backwards. Something I've never seen. There was a couple of those little pivotal moments throughout the game of just things going wrong. You've got that Jalibert penalty going backwards. You've had another one, Ramos with a 22 dropout, kicking it dead and just putting the pressure right back on themselves. That South Africa scrum was looking much better by the end of the game. And some of the impacts that some of the South African bench made, Kwagga Smith especially, I mean, that man, the astonishing thing that man doesn't start more games, but the impact he has when he comes on from the benches is enormous. The breakdown improved dramatically as soon as he was on, carrying the ball hard. Took about 3 players to take him down. Now, we did get into the 73rd minute. France earned a penalty. They're 4 points down. There's about 7 minutes left on the clock, and they decided to go for the post. And you understood why. You still got time on the clock. Maybe you think you're going to get back up to that end. 4 points down, and in the second half, it didn't necessarily feel like France were, constantly getting into that South African 22. I was a bit surprised by that decision to go for 3. I thought maybe they would have kicked a corner and tried to go for that driving maul and driven it over. They went for the 3, hoping they could, come back up that other end of the pitch, put them back within 1 point. It looked like South Africa were going to lock out the game. They had a scrum up in France's 22. They were just going through the phases, playing a good game. Faf de Klerk throwing a pass directly into Cameron Wilkie, looking for the penalty. Ben O'Keefe in this game just not allowing anyone to get away with the sort of forced penalties, and I think that's a good decision. But it made that game very interesting at the end. The final 5 minutes is just France on the attack, playing out of their own 22. If there's one team that potentially could do it, it is France. Damien Penaud, Ficou, Ramos, all of them charging up. But that South African defence to be able to get back from a scrum in the French 22 to basically run all the way back to your own 22, chasing down the likes of Damien Penaud to get back and shut that down is quite incredible work ethic from the South African boys. Got over, managed to defend themselves, set up that line again. France didn't look like they were really in a good shape. You thought maybe they would try and work it to get close to maybe a drop goal or something. Maybe Ramos could hit a drop goal, but it really wasn't sort of getting there. They weren't going forwards. Those dominant tackles again from South Africa coming in, driving France back, and eventually the ball did come loose. I think it was actually Faf de Klerk who got the rip. I wasn't entirely sure who got the rip because there was a big scrummaging of people and the ball popped out the back, and Kurtley Arendse kicks off the ball off the pitch, and South Africa go on to win this game, which leaves us with some very, very exciting semi-finals going on, which means South Africa are going up against England. The replay of the final from, of course, 2019. We get to see it back again in the semi-finals. South Africa performance today was awesome. A lot of the things I was worried about, South Africa maybe not holding out the longevity in terms of the forwards and stuff. Brilliant effort by them to hold this one out today. In fact, there were so many substitutions. People kept getting injured and having to come back on and play even longer in this game. They didn't need the 6-2. And they look pretty decent doing it. I'm still thinking maybe a couple of people. I think Damien Willemse still had a better game than Willy Leroux when he came on. I think Reinach was playing better than Faf de Klerk when he came on too. I might have left them on a little bit longer. Maybe that's something they'll be experimenting with when they go up against England next week. From a France standpoint, absolute heartbreak for them after such a dominant first half as well. It really felt like they were on top of that game, and it was the counter-attacks from South Africa that was catching them off guard. Had they just taken those kicks in the air, had someone slightly better, you could maybe take off the Kurtley Arendse try and the Damien Dialende try. Suddenly it's 22-5 at halftime. That's an enormous, score difference, but just not being, clinical enough. Some of their own issues today, kind of uncharacteristic for France, but did come back to bite them. I think in terms of man of the match, though, I saw just before I came down to film this one, that Bongi Mbonambi, I think, got man of the match. I saw him just sort of lining up on the stage. I think there's a couple of South African players that could have stepped up today. I think Cheslin Colby had an awesome game. For a winger that's, I think still been a little bit quiet throughout this tournament, I think today really exploded, really sort of showed off that world-class, ability that he has to just run through defenders, cause an absolute nightmare for the defence. Thought he had a superb game today. So congratulations to South Africa on taking this one. Commiserations to France. But luckily for all of us rugby fans, I feel like we've been treated. This game and Ireland versus New Zealand feel like they could have been semi-finals, feel like they could have been finals, and it's so awesome that we got to see them. There's been a lot of complaints about the draws and how it ended up, but that's how it is. That's where we're up to now. Luckily, we've got to see some awesome quarterfinals games. I thoroughly enjoyed them, and we'll of course be back to talk about the semi-finals next week. So over the course of this week, of course, we'll have the preview videos coming out, and I'll try my best to be doing some review videos. Hopefully, I'll peak up a little bit by the end of the week and feel a little bit better. But I hope you've all enjoyed this one today, guys. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.